Okay, Richard, if you can tell me, please, about one of your eco-innovations or eco-vasions. Can you tell me about the solar cooker, please?
Yeah. It was actually it came to its full fruition on the second floating island, which was Spiral Island number 2 in Puerto Venturas. I had more time to focus on that, and on the third island, which is the one Joysxee, I did a box solar cooker with mirrors in it, and that's quite common. You can buy them and they work, and I made my own with broken mirrors. So, but this one was done.
Yeah, show me how you made it.
Yeah, it was done in a satellite dish, an old satellite dish. It was about a 2.5 meter dish that I found. So it's reusing, and so we had the satellite dish, and you got the curve coming in, and all of that was covered with broken mirrors. And it was the kind of cool because I did it in a spiral. So it was all mosaic, big pieces in one part of the spiral, and then all little tiny pieces on the other. So just to give you the idea.
You're basically filling out an empty satellite dish with broken pieces of mirror, so that they can reflect.
So this had ribs on it, so it's quite a solid thing, aluminium, and it would last a long time. This crashed onto the beach and got all buckled up in the end as well. But if you can envisage that with all the mirrors following that concave surface. So you obviously have a focal point.
Like you would with a magnifying glass.
But it's reflecting back, yeah. So that if you have imagine the sun here, but much further away, of course. So the light is coming down here from the sun, and when it hits here, it's bouncing in when it hits the center, it's going straight back, more or less. So what you get is a convergence of all the rays of the light on a focal point, which is where you would normally have for a satellite dish, you'd have your receiver.
Yeah.
And that's the same way. So then all the information through the sky for your satellite TV or whatever is coming there, focused on there, and it goes downhill. But this way, instead of doing it obviously for the normal use, I made a wooden framework to hang food. And the idea was, I'd always had this idea for a long time anyway, about what would it be like if we could take a little bit of everything every good thing that the planet offered.
Like superfoods and grains and all the healthy stuff.
And maybe even some of the things we class as poisons. Apparently we have got very small proportions of cyanide within us, right? Is that true? I've heard all sorts of who knows. But we do have minerals and all sorts of different things, right? Of course, And so I started as an experiment, choosing as many nice fruits and grains and herbs and spices, and then adding more and more. But the cake, because
how did you keep it all together?
Eat it. Well, I'll explain that. Eat it and then replenish it. It was like an everlasting cake. The idea was you could keep it going forever. It'd be like a friendship cake. But you're not passing it around. You're just taking pieces of it and then adding new fruits every week or so, and new ingredients, should I say. So it was a spherical cake. So the idea was to make the cake more or less earth-shaped, a sphere, with all of the good stuff. And this cake, the one that I did, I got it up to about 50 ingredients.
Okay.
Yeah, that's quite a number of things. Some of the things that were growing in Mexico, in the meadows, in between the trees and things like that I knew. I found out that they were okay, like the chaya and different other things, nopal, different. I don't think I had nopal in it, but anyway, I had a lot of good stuff in there.
So how do you keep it?
And it would be wrapped in a cheesecloth. It was wrapped in a cheesecloth.
Like, is that like muslin kind of thing?
Yeah, like a muslin. Yeah.
Yeah. So that hangs from the middle of the frame, like a pyramid frame that you've got going around this mirrored satellite dish.
Yeah. So
with that, sorry to interrupt. Would this be hanging at the sort of focal point that these would all
exactly? That's hanging at the focal point.
Right, cool.
So the convergence, actually, that was just me talking about that, but it's actually converging on here.
It's an awful lot of light.
I had another pyramid. I don't want to get too complicated here right now because we're going to talk about it more later on. But I had another little plywood pyramid at the top here with mirrors on the inside.
Oh wow!
So what the light would come here. What missed the cake would reflect on the top, so it's
brilliant.
getting an all-round cooking from the sun. And a lot of solar cookers don't actually use the actual rays of the sun. So they're
using solar panels and so.
What they'll do is they'll get a metal that will take the heat sometimes and then conducts it over to heat the food. But this is actually gathering the actual rays of the sun.
So when you were talking about replenishing, how would you replenish?
Just take that down at night when the sun goes down.
Right.
And then open it up, and the outside here would be like a crust on it, almost like
where
a
it's been
crust of the
cooking in
planet.
the sun.
So you'd be golden and brown and drier, and then that could be eaten, and then new fruits can be added. As I would open the cloth up, the cake would not be completely solid. In the middle, it would be more like the juices and almost like a creme brulee, but like vegan style. And I noticed as well, and I know this would happen, if you leave some food out in a warm place, yeasts in the air, enzymes in the air, whatever, they're going to start growing there in it, right? So it's the same as like a kombucha or even just a cheese. Or
it's almost like a fermenting Christmas cake almost.
Yeah. So I was allowing it to ferment to a certain extent, but with the sun shining on it all day, that would reduce the fermentation because the heat would be a little bit too much for that.
Yeah.
So the fermentation would be more in the middle. Almost like the core of the planet.
But you're eating the bits that are getting cooked on the outside.
Yeah, you'd get some of this creamier, softer part with it. So you get your cake and your cream with it.
Oh, nice.
And my theory went on there. I started to think about it, and it got quite exciting thinking that if you could get more and more in it, and then these yeasts would become super yeasts in there, because what other yeasts, or I'm using the word yeast, enzymes, would they have that much possibility, nutrients all in one place? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be the only one in the world. You're going to get like now a unique strain of bacteria that's growing in there that I believe is friendly because it's a vegan cake. So these enzymes are eating vegan no meat. So when you eat that, it's not going to start eating you. It's not accustomed to eating meat. So it's, in that sense, it's healthier as well. But the idea is to, get it as old as you can as well.
Keep it going for as long as possible.
Keep it going for as long as possible and add to more ingredients. So as I say, I did this. Some friends sometimes helping as well. But there was times using this solar cooker, and this dish could be moved here so you could follow the sun.
Given that you're
this was on a framework that I could move.
Oh, so would it be pivoted so that you could point it at the sun? That's brilliant.
Pivot it and follow the sun, and whenever the cake was really well balanced, if I didn't have visitors for a while and I wasn't too sidetracked with a lot of other work, I'd focus more on this and gather more fruits and balance it just right. Because if we would eat too much, then it wouldn't be as fermented as it would need.
No, exactly. You've got to get the right balance of adding and taking.
So if I was alone on the island for a few days, 3, 4, 5 days, the cake would just get better, and you could smell it during the day. This like nectar of the gods almost.
Awesome.
Elixir of eternal life kind of.
Well, if you've got super fruits and stuff in there that are fermenting, it's going to have to some extent healing qualities anyway.
Yeah.
Let alone if you added something like a high CBD strain of marijuana leaf.
Yeah, you could.
It could decarboxylate
Of course.
in the sun, become stronger, and actually take on more healing properties as well. And
all sorts of things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, your island, you could actually grow any sort of plant because it actually stores rainwater and that above it. It doesn't just need the salt water below. It actually stores clear.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When the island is big enough,
Yeah.
you don't get the agitation of the waves in the middle, and fresh water lays on top of salt water because it's, obviously the salt water is heavier.
Yeah.
And so every time it rains, you get a fresh layer of fresh water between the bottles, and it's a water table that or any plant growing in the middle can just put its root into and get the water it wants.
Wow.
And so yes, you could be on the ocean on a floating island, and you would never need to water your plants in the middle, away from the wave turbulence. So obviously you'd have to have the island a certain size, and that would need to be found out in a real experiment. I mean, I'm guessing about a 100-meter island you could start to get that effect in the middle then, which is amazing, really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, there was a couple of things, because when the cake was just in the right balance, I always knew it, because butterflies would come from wherever on that particular day.
That is the sign when you've met perfection of it.
From the cheesecloth, what do you call it?
The muslin or whatever.
The muslin, linen or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would get warm and the juices would come out, and it would be...
And butterflies would be attracted to it at that point. That would suggest that it's absolutely perfect to eat.
So true. Some days, on those special days, you could not even see the cake for butterflies.
Wow.
They'd be all on there, just moving their wings ever so slightly, all in place, all around, licking with their little spiral tongues, the nectar coming out.
Oh, wow.
So this was my sign, and inevitably, always on those days when it was like that, strangers would come at the end of the day, just as I was going, because I had this on the roof of the house.
Yeah.
So I'd go up and get the cake down. It took about 15 minutes to do it, and I got a better view every time I went up. And every time on the day when the butterflies were there, when the balance was right, there would be a group of strangers coming. Sometimes, usually in 2 or 3 different separate groups, so there'd be 6 or 7 all together. Yeah. They couldn't see each other, but I could see the track winding through the low jungle there near the edge, not far from the ocean in the marina system. And this happened so exactly over and over again. I had that going for about a year. And so there would have been probably, I would say at least 6 or 7 times in that year when I had the balance of the cake right, and I could tell by the smell and the taste myself, and the butterflies came. And when the butterflies came, the people came. And they had no idea what they're coming for, but they came. I had
like they were attracted
people
to
were
it.
coming for tours, but this was different because they were all coming at exactly that time.
What feedback did you get on the cake itself?
When I let them over and told them about the cake, I said just explain the cake to them. Invariably, that group would always want to try it. Most people who came for a tour, tell them about the sort of cake, they'd be like, they're off put by, we're in a tropical country, you're fermenting the cake. I don't think I want to eat any of that. But on this day when the butterflies were there, they invariably wanted some. But that's not where it ended. I gave them, and invariably every time it was the same. And about at least 6 times in that 1 year, they would almost beg for more. Now I would give them a little bit more, and I would tell them, my rule is not to eat more than 1/3 of the cake to keep that balance, so you don't have to put too many fresh fruits.
Right, that makes sense.
Fresh ingredients.
Otherwise it wouldn't have time to ferment and so on.
Right, and then it takes a long time to get that balance and that matureness again. But I have to say that as my memory goes, on each occasion, I broke that rule. Because it was such a celebration.
It's like opening a bottle of nice rum or something.
Wow, you also know what this potential. So these were they're people that I maybe even someone who's been is actually listening to this video. Yeah.
Maybe.
Because it adds up to probably 30 people or more or whatever, that had that experience. It would be nice to hear from you, anybody, if we could,
Excellent.
But that's that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah.